Season 1 of Young Sheldon has already demonstrated why Sheldon won't become like Paige. Hello everyone, my name is Elena. Welcome to my channel. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like of caution. There will be Young Sheldon Season 6 Episode 13 spoilers ahead. Some people think that if Sheldon hadn't made friends, he would have followed Paige's path in The Big Bang Theory, although Young Sheldon Season 1 already demonstrated that wouldn't have happened. Paige returned to Sheldon's life in Season 6 more trouble than before. Paige's previous appearance in Young Sheldon Season 5 demonstrated her clear difficulties in college, where she was able to excel intellectually but struggled to establish friends. However, Episode 13 of Season 6 of Young Sheldon, in order to make friends with her fellow students, Paige voluntarily got wasted during college dorm parties, as depicted in A Frat Party, A Sleepover, and The Mother of All Blisters. The Big Bang Theory might have been darker if Sheldon had no pals, as evidenced by the fact that Young Sheldon Season 6 Episode 13 reminded viewers that Paige was actually smarter than Sheldon, and that Sheldon might have copied her risky conduct. Nevertheless, Young Sheldon had already demonstrated in Season 1 how Sheldon frequently found himself finding acquaintances, even in spite of Paige's loneliness and resemblance to Sheldon. Sheldon was, in fact, regarded as a socially. Sheldon's capacity to form friendships was explained in Young Sheldon Season 1 and was deemed an inadequate genius by both Young Sheldon and The Big Bang Theory. Associated with Sheldon and Amy's cutest Big Bang Theory moment is ruined by Young Sheldon. In Young Sheldon Season 1, Episode 4, Tam and Sheldon became friends after Sheldon angrily rebuked Tam for being in his place and saying that it would have been simpler for him to move seats rather than for Sheldon to explain why. After what happened that morning, Tam helped Sheldon overcome his fear of food being caught in his throat, despite Sheldon's attitude and his derogatory remarks about comic books. As a result of this, Tam became one of Sheldon's closest friends and made an appearance on The Big Bang Theory. Young Sheldon Season 1 demonstrated that Sheldon voluntarily formed friends as long as he found common ground with them, despite the fact that his directness was frequently misinterpreted as a sign of his incapacity to act appropriately in social situations in both Young Sheldon and The Big Bang Theory. In Young Sheldon Season 1, Episode 4, he even explicitly informed Tam, "You challenge me, I like that," when his fear took him to the comic book store. Because he always accepted friendships based on shared interests, Sheldon was able to find a companion in Tam and a safe haven in comics rather quickly. Whether on purpose or accidentally, it caused Sheldon to feel less alone than Paige did during her time at college. Even though Sheldon felt isolated and misunderstood at the No Bowl listening party incident in the Best Young Sheldon episode, during Young Sheldon Seasons 1 through 6, he continued to have family support. Paige's family circumstances differs greatly from Sheldon's, since in one of her early tales, she was acting out due to her parents' divorce. Paige frequently felt as though she lacked the safe haven that Sheldon had, where he could be himself and still have the support of his entire family. Paige's preteen struggles in college and her want to socialize with her peers, but inability to do so, only made things worse for her. Although Sheldon's and her own genius would make them stand out, in fact, their disparate support networks contributed to the uniqueness of their circumstances. In fact, Sheldon's experience on The Big Bang Theory may have been quite similar to Paige's Young Sheldon story, if it weren't for his family's support and his practical approach to establishing Season 1 friends. Already proved why Sheldon won't end up like Paige. If you've ever watched Young Sheldon, then you're no stranger to the quirky and brilliant Young Sheldon Cooper. With his unparalleled intellect, awkward social skills, and love for science, Young Sheldon has a lot in common with his older counterpart from The Big Bang Theory. But as the series progresses, we begin to see the complexities of his personality and growth. However, One character that has made fans both curious and worried about Sheldon's future is Paige. In fact, Season 1 of Young Sheldon already set the stage for why Sheldon will not end up like Paige, and this has massive implications for the future of Sheldon's character development. For those of you who've been following along with Young Sheldon, you know that Paige is a fellow child prodigy who shares many of Sheldon's intellectual abilities. She's also portrayed as socially awkward, much like young Sheldon, but as Season 1 progresses, it becomes clear that Paige's trajectory is vastly different from Sheldon's, and that will ultimately lead him down a completely different path. Let's explore why Sheldon's future will diverge from Paige's, and why Season 1 of Young Sheldon already gave us all the proof we need. Who is Paige, and why should we be concerned? Before we dive into the reasons Sheldon won't end up like Paige, let's take a moment to understand who Paige is and why she's a key player in this debate. Paige is introduced as a highly intelligent 9-year-old with an IQ comparable to Sheldon's. She's also a fellow genius who quickly becomes friends with Sheldon, as they share a love for academics and often challenge each other intellectually. On the surface, Paige seems like someone who would fit right in with Sheldon, and their intellectual bond is undeniable. However, Paige's social struggles are much more pronounced than Sheldon's. Unlike Sheldon, who has a clear sense of identity despite his lack of social skills, Paige has an air of insecurity that makes her journey feel more tumultuous. Her intellectual abilities are often overshadowed by her emotional instability, and it becomes clear that she's struggling to find her place in the world. Unlike Sheldon, Paige doesn't have a solid foundation for how to cope with her genius and her overwhelming emotions, leading to a much rougher road ahead. Sheldon's unwavering confidence in his identity. One of the most significant differences between Sheldon and Paige is how each of them views themselves and their place in the world. While Paige is often portrayed as unsure of herself, Sheldon has a much firmer grasp on who he is, even from a young age. Season 1 of Young Sheldon reveals that Sheldon is extremely comfortable in his own skin, albeit in his uniquely quirky way. He may not always know how to interact with others, but he is confident in his intellectual prowess and his worth as a person. Throughout Season 1, Sheldon frequently demonstrates his unshakable self-assurance. Whether it's in his refusal to compromise on his scientific views or his determination to be the smartest person in the room, Sheldon exhibits a strength of character that sets him apart from Paige. While Paige struggles with her emotional turmoil and the pressure to fit in, Sheldon already has an understanding that his genius is not something to be hidden or downplayed. It is something to be proud of, and he doesn't seek approval from others for it. In contrast, Paige frequently finds herself doubting her worth, especially when her intellect isolates her from others or creates awkward situations. Season 1 showcases Paige's emotional vulnerability, and this stands in stark contrast to Sheldon's more self-assured demeanor. For Sheldon, his identity is intertwined with his intellect, and he doesn't feel the need to hide it. This unwavering confidence in himself will be a major factor in preventing Sheldon from following the same emotional trajectory as Paige. Sheldon's strong support system. Another key reason why Sheldon won't end up like Paige is the strong support system he has in his life, especially during his formative years. Despite his socially awkward nature, Sheldon is surrounded by family who care deeply about him. His mother, Mary Cooper, is a religious and supportive figure who constantly encourages Sheldon's academic pursuits while also guiding him emotionally. His father, George Cooper Sr., though not as intellectually gifted, is still a constant presence in Sheldon's life, offering him a grounding sense of family stability. While Paige does have parents who love her, it's clear that her home life is much more chaotic. In Season 1, we see that Paige's parents are divorced, and she often seems to be grappling with feelings of loneliness and abandonment. This lack of stability in her personal life exacerbates her emotional challenges, and we begin to see that Paige's emotional growth is hindered by the lack of support she needs to cope with the weight of her intelligence. As a result, Paige struggles to find balance between her intellectual achievements and her emotional well-being, a struggle that Sheldon doesn't face to the same extent. Sheldon's stable home life and the consistent love and support from his family give him the emotional tools to thrive. He may not always express his emotions in the most traditional way, but his family's presence provides him with a grounding force that Paige lacks. This difference in support systems is crucial for understanding why Sheldon's development will likely be far more stable than Paige's. One of the most significant reasons Sheldon won't end up like Paige is his ability to adapt to the world around him. While it's true that Sheldon is resistant to change in many ways, young Sheldon has already shown us that he is capable of adjusting, albeit in his own way. In Season 1, Sheldon begins to realize that his interactions with others need to be modified, especially when it comes to his family and friends. While he remains true to his intellectual interests, he slowly learns that being part of a family means making compromises and learning to communicate better. For instance, Sheldon's relationship with his brother Georgie in Season 1 shows an evolution in Sheldon's understanding of family dynamics. Initially, Sheldon struggles to connect with Georgie, but over time, he starts to show more empathy and understanding, which signals that he is capable of growing emotionally. This growth is crucial, as it allows Sheldon to navigate the world in a way that allows him to form deeper connections, something Paige struggles to do. Paige, on the other hand, seems much less adaptable. Throughout Season 1, Paige is depicted as someone who is much more emotionally volatile, unable to bridge the gap between her intellect and her emotional state. This lack of emotional growth makes it difficult for Paige to form meaningful connections with others, and without the ability to adapt to social situations, she faces an uphill battle in finding true fulfillment. One of the most important factors in why Sheldon won't end up like Paige is his emotional stability, which is already evident by the end of Season 1. While Sheldon may be socially awkward, he has a clear understanding of his emotions, even if he doesn't always express them in the traditional way. He may not show his feelings like others, but Sheldon's emotional growth is a consistent theme throughout the series. He is able to confront his emotional issues, like his fear of intimacy, and find solutions, even if it's not always straightforward. Paige, in contrast, has not yet demonstrated this level of emotional stability. Her intelligence is undeniable, but her emotional struggles often get in the way of her intellectual potential. Without the emotional tools to navigate life, Paige's future could be filled with more instability, and that's where Sheldon's path will likely differ. Sheldon has already proven, even in Season 1, that he has the emotional foundation to thrive and build meaningful relationships, something Paige is still learning. Season 1 of Young Sheldon has already shown us why Sheldon will not follow the same path as Paige. Sheldon's unwavering self-confidence, strong support system, ability to adapt, and emotional stability set him on a different course from Paige, who struggles with insecurity, emotional instability, and a lack of consistent support. While both are incredibly intelligent, their journeys are vastly different, and it's clear that Sheldon's future will be far more stable and fulfilling than Paige's. With these foundations already set in place, we can confidently say that Sheldon will carve out a unique path for himself, one that is defined by emotional growth, intellectual achievement, and a sense of self that Paige will struggle to find. So if you've been worried that Sheldon might end up like Paige, don't be. Season 1 already proved why that's simply not going to happen. Sheldon Cooper's journey is far from over, but we can rest easy knowing that, unlike Paige, he's got the emotional tools and support system to navigate life with confidence and grace. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay with us.